Welcome to the Hey, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual, as part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Rack highlights here on talk radio version of the OMSR. I am, as always, your brief but very concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. Yeah. Always do a little voiceover intro show like this, let you know the clip order coming up, and the last two we're for. Lot to get to, or rather, lots. So keep it brief and concisely talking about the air conditioning debacle in San Antonio, LeBron's cramps. The notion of being able to play through cramps, especially in the calves when it kicks into your hamstring. You know, having experienced that myself, being an athlete at the collegiate level, still an athlete now, it's not in organized sports, is not doable. The North Carolina assertions by McCants in academia, not so stellar that Mac Brown could run the show like he did at Chapel Hill, and what happened to Texas type deal. And then a little discussion about Kaepernick's contract extensions. I'll take it from the herd on the Monday Morning Quarterbacking playlist. In the meantime, let Colin say his piece.
I thought San Antonio, outside of about a 5-minute stretch, San Antonio was in control of the basketball game. They controlled the entire first half outside of the first 2 minutes, and they controlled the fourth quarter. So this is a basketball team that has an elite point guard. Miami doesn't. Two great elite perimeter shooters. Miami does. But two legitimate bigs who can pound away. Miami doesn't. They don't have four guys who are going to retire at the end of the year. And let's be honest, I said this yesterday, Rashard Lewis is being counted on for big minutes at the 4. That doesn't sound like a championship team to me. Mike Miller was a bigger loss than people think. At least once in every finals, he had a moment where he elevated that team in a half. Tim Legler now joining us live from San Antonio. First of all, you were there. How bad was the heat?
It was pretty impressive, honestly. It was the hottest environment I've ever experienced as a spectator at a game. I was sitting basically on the set that we had set up, which is the upper portion of the lower bowl of the arena. Our set was right above that, and I was just, you know, on the set. I had no post-game duty, so I was just there in a button-down and jeans watching the game, and my shirt was completely soaked through. I was just standing there watching the game. It was impressive. It really was. Now, having said that, you know, as Dwayne Wade alluded to it, when they asked if you ever played in heat like that, yeah, all the time. Not in the finals. You don't expect it to be that way in the finals or in an NBA arena, but if anybody's played basketball for a long time, you know, you played games in severe heat and humidity outdoors growing up, so if you played in heat like that, you just didn't expect to be on that stage. But yeah, it was extremely hot there.
The LeBron cramps, you ever have them in your career, Tim?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, nothing that I couldn't get under control and get back in and play. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure, you know, what you do when you're dealing with something like you had last night, where obviously you couldn't even walk. But yeah, I think all of us at some point.
Super Bowl champ Jeff Saturday. By the way, my audience hates me today because I've done 2 hours on cramping. The fans are no, not all of them. I would say 70% are smart people, and they're like, dude, I've cramped. It's brutal. Have you cramped?
Absolutely. And all these people who are saying that athletes can play through a cramp have lost their mind. That's an impossibility. You're going to rip the muscle in half trying to keep going. The worst thing you could do is try to play through, keep going, and then really injure yourself. You know, hydration, it's out of your body. Your muscles are telling you you have to stop. They're not going to keep going. So it's ludicrous if you would say that you can play through something like that. It's an impossibility.
You can't. I said it's a seizure. But when it's like headaches. If you say, you know, I can't play, I've got a headache, sports fans would destroy you. Migraines, you ever had a migraine?
No, I have not.
I've had one. Knocked me out 3 hours.
Yeah.
White, couldn't see through my eyes. White, people have those every day.
Yeah.
Brutal. By the way, Jeff Saturday joining us. There's a story today about some academic fraud with Carolina basketball, Keith McCants, and they had it with their football program as well. Now, when you When you went to Eastern Carolina.
No.
Carolina.
I was at Carolina.
Carolina.
I was at UNC.
Mac Brown was the coach.
That's right.
Now, back then, Mac was pretty tough on guys academically.
Yeah, Mac did not. He did not slip at all. Listen, he would send people around to look and check for classes. If you weren't in your class, you had to go see Mad Dog, Jeff Madden, who was our strength and conditioning coach, and he would run you until you wanted to die. If you did not show up, like Mac would always tell you, I can't tell you what class to take, but whatever class you're signed up for, you will be in that class, and that professor will know you're in that class, and you will do your job, and your job is to be a student first. And he never wavered on that. He was always very focused. And if guys didn't get their grades, he sent them on. We had a lot of very good players who would come through Carolina who wouldn't get it done academically. He'd send them packing. We had a guy, Brian Davis, who was our academic counselor, and he would tell you when you were looking at different majors, he would tell you, so understand, if you're going to go into medicine, your labs are going to be during this time. If you're going to business school, your testing will be here, so you will miss practice time doing these things. So understand this is a give and take, and you have to. Mac is going to go school first, so there is no, you don't miss class because you think football comes first. That will not happen, and that's the way he ran it.
But it's interesting. College football has grown exponentially since then.
That's right.
And there are more, even at Texas at the end with Mac, there may have been different standards because there's different pressure on Mac Brown. It's now 100. That's like an $800 million college football program, the richest, wealthiest, most. I think it's the most moneyed college football athletic program in America, Texas. And I'm not taking a shot at Mac, I love him, but it's changed.
Right.
Did you know of guys? Okay, when you were in the NFL, don't name names.
Yeah.
The Colts generally went after smarter players.
Correct.
But were there guys in locker rooms your last 10, 12 years that you couldn't figure out how they got through college?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, here's how you knew how they got through college, because they're gifted athletically. You knew they could flat out ball, and so whatever classes they had to take, they were not on a major program. They were just taking whatever classes they had to stay eligible.
And schools have that now.
They do, yeah, and they would just bounce around and ultimately find the way. I remember I played with a specific guy, and he was another offensive lineman, and he was at a school where he and a linebacker actually got named, and they were named out publicly at their university for never going to class. And he looked at me, he said, "Jeff, I probably went to 5 classes." And I mean, he was dead serious. I mean, he did not, and he just said that was the way. They were good enough in football that they were going to make them. They'll get through it.
What conference did he play in?
I can't tell you that.
Really?
I can't. Big Ten.
Okay,
I said that out loud. I didn't mean.
Legends Division or Leaders Division? Does it rhyme with Muckeyes? I'm just saying. Ohio State hates me as it is. I don't want to go there. What did you make of the contract? Because a lot of people thought it was outrageous.
Yeah, the team did. As far as the 49ers, they put a very good package for themselves ahead. I mean, they made this a team-friendly deal, and he signed it. I mean, he got good numbers, but he's going to have to play to get it. This is not going to be I'm getting $60 million and I never got to show up again. He's got to keep playing and keep showing up year after year, because there are some guarantees, but they're guarantees for injury.
Yeah, but not for just playing.
Right. Yeah, you start becoming a liability, you will no longer be a 49er. So I think from both sides, he got good money, but the team did a good job of protecting themselves, of understanding their nucleus is about offensive line play, good defense, good running game. It's not just about one guy. And you see they're building their receiver core now as well. So other guys are going to have to get paid. If the quarterback's not cutting the mustard, they'll move on.
Yeah, they had to get rid of Goldson, the safety. The reality of the NFL is Seattle's about the only team left, and this will end in about 2 years.
That's right.
That has complete symmetry and balance.
That's right.
They don't have a weakness.
That's right.
Seattle does not have a their receivers are good, they're not great. But the truth is, San Francisco's been a little weaker on the back end defensively, the more they pay the players. So in the NFL, you pay Eli the big money, the Giants linebacking core goes to pot.
No, you can exactly with the bargaining agreement the way it is and the cap being what it is. Only so many guys on your team can get paid. They force parity. So you can only have so many great players on one team for a certain amount. And if you don't draft them, There's no way to
guy
get
that
him.
didn't go to class. Did the school he went to rhyme with Alabama?
No, it was Big Ten. Big Ten.
Did it
You
rhyme
may
with
have said it first. You may have said it.
Michigan?
No, you may have said it.
Wisconsin?
Oh.
Purdue? All right, Jeff Saturday, Super Bowl champ. Last hour coming up. Timmy Legg stopping by. Luke Walton, too. The Herd on ESPN Radio. From the outside, I'm not sure if the GM likes the coach Harbaugh. There have been times I'm not sure Harbaugh's in love with Kaepernick. I don't know how Kaepernick always feels about the Niners. He once wore a Dolphins hat. From the outside, I look at this and I'm like, does everybody like each other here? Everybody's getting paid.
Typical NFL. To the world, it's this huge contract, but underneath it, it's year to year, game to game. That's how it usually works, and that's how this contract is made. They have a tremendous amount of flexibility. And I think that Trent and Jed believe that this team should have won Super Bowls. And in our window, we got to win some. And if we don't, we got to look to the coach being responsible. So there's tension. And I think there's expectation. And I think Jim Harbaugh has a history of not being around places for a long time. Generally, because he is a pretty prickly guy. I love Jim, but, that's the truth. And so I think all those guys in those spots, and Colin kind of feeds off of Jim. Jim and Colin are wrapped together tightly. Don't worry about that relationship. Colin and Jim supported Colin from the beginning, drafted him, stood on the table and yelled at everybody, and we have to draft this kid. So they are connected at the hip and
talking about, by the way, I'll just throw this in. This is the one, when it comes to college basketball, big-time college basketball, the OMSR is kind of a step ahead of Colin. He's talking about the point guard comparisons of the teams. Well, he sort of forgot to mention that Mario Chalmers was the dude running the show that's won a national championship at Kansas. So, saying he's not an elite point guard, he's the best point guard Miami's had in some time, for sure. So, into the Quickie Sport Ranch we go with regard to North Carolina. And these are all the players who have been under Roy Williams' tenure. And the difference between that in contrast to, you heard how Mr. Saturday was talking how Mac Brown did not run the show like that. Proctors to check up on players, see if you're in class. And there's something to be said about the major that you pick, because a lot of those classes are sort of like at the time when your other football training and practices starts, late morning, early afternoon, whereas your basketball practice always starts later in the day. Football's just a little bit more involved. So what happened in Texas? And we're not talking about Texas academic problems. We're talking about just the level of play. Now remember, Mac Brown was hired to Texas because of how well North Carolina football was doing. So did he just get more friendly as he got older with the players? Less strict, mellowing with age? It's an interesting question. Another college football or basketball segue with regard to North Carolina that Colin maybe not thought of is Jeff Green was with those teams. We're talking about when North Carolina won the national championships with their 2 7-footers. I forgot their names. Tyler Zeller, right? And the other, John, forgot his last name. McCants was definitely on one of those teams. And Danny Green was either a freshman or coming in the next year. That's why you watch the One-Man Sports Rant in the sense of I try to give you anecdotes from sports memory. I don't have a staff here to go say, hey, go see when McCants and Green were on, if they were on the same team when they played at North Carolina. But this notion that Roy Williams was involved somehow, I kind of find it hard to believe. He was a tough cookie at Kansas. The Kansas-North Carolina connection, and I will end on that note. All the video highlights courtesy to The Herd with Colin, as mentioned, everything else to the OMSR. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching those silly DUIs while you're out there celebrating the finals. Stay cool. We are later out here.